Back in the old days, anyone with an exaggerated physical disability who couldn't work a normal 9-to-5 job would usually join the circus or the freak show circuit to make a living. These acts weren't just about spectacle, they were survival. For many, it was the only stage where their differences turned into paychecks, and sometimes even fame. While the crowds gawked and gasped, the performers lived full, complicated lives behind the curtains. So, let's walk through the sawdust-covered tents of the past and meet 15 real circus freaks history tried to hide. Number 15. Major Edward Newell. Edward, or better remembered as General Grant Jr., was one of Barnum's most well-known little people. He was born Edmund Newell in 1857 and is best known for marrying Minnie Warren, Lavinia Warren's sister, in 1877. Sadly, Minnie died the following year during childbirth. After her death, Newell relocated to England and married Mary Ann Drake, an average-sized woman, in 1888. They had 2 kids, Edmund Charles Jeffreys Newell and Daisy Louise Newell. At 13, he was billed as the smallest man living, standing 23 inches tall and weighing just 18 pounds. He became a regular at Barnum's Museum in New York, where he was often photographed standing next to average-sized adults for contrast. One famous portrait of his, taken by George Stacy in 1870, became widely circulated. While many performers vanished with time, Newell stayed in public memory. He passed away on December 23, 1915, at the age of 58, quietly remembered not just for his size, but for the oversized imprint he left in sideshow history. Number 14. Lady Olga. Jane Barnell, or simply as people love to call her Lady Olga, was among the most famous bearded ladies in circus history. Born in Wilmington, North Carolina, between 1871 and 1877, her early years were harsh. Showing signs of hirsutism from infancy, she was sold to a circus at age 4 by her mother while her father was away. Left behind in Germany during a tour, she was eventually retrieved, but the path was already set, her life tied to show business. As an adult, Jane joined John Robinson's circus in the 1890s, later performing with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, Four Paw Cells, Dreamland Circus in Coney Island, and Hubert's Museum in Times Square. Her beard was natural, once measured at 13 inches, and needed no exaggeration. She gained wider recognition in Todd Browning's 1932 cult film Freaks, where she played herself. Of Russian Jewish and Catawba descent, Barnell represented authenticity and endurance. She retired quietly and then died in 1951, but her image remains iconic. Number 13. Princess Wee Wee. Harriet Elizabeth Williams, also known by her stage name as Princess Wee Wee, was born in 1892, likely in either Maryland or Pennsylvania. Her early life remains a mystery, but by young adulthood, she had already built a name as one of America's most famous little people. She claimed to be only 17 inches tall and weighing no more than 12 pounds. She performed under names like Princess Pee Wee and the Animated Chocolate Eclair, and was frequently billed as the world's smallest perfect woman. She toured with Dreamland Circus in 1908 and Barnum and Bailey in 1910, staying active until at least 1917. One famous photo shows her being lifted by the towering John Asen next to actor Harold Lloyd. Another 1916 studio image captures her signature look: graceful, posed, confident. Her later years remain undocumented, but her time in the spotlight carved her name into sideshow legend. She wasn't just small, she was super magnetic, a dancer, a crowd puller, a performer people didn't forget, but love. Number 12, Sarah Hobalt. Sarah is a celebrated international circus and physical theater performer known for aerial work, hula hoops, and acrobatics. She competed as a swimmer in the 2000 Sydney Paralympic Games. Hobalt boldly embraces the term natural-born freak, coined in the 1930s to describe performers with congenital disabilities. She was born with Hallermann-Streiff syndrome, a rare genetic condition that affects bone development. She stands at just 144 centimeters and is also legally blind. Rather than focusing on her condition, Hobalt highlights the skill and strength she brings to the stage. In addition to live performances, she works in arts administration in New South Wales and is an active advocate for disability rights and arts accessibility. She also remains involved in the sideshow world, using it as a platform to challenge stereotypes and reclaim stigmatized language. Her presence on stage and behind the scenes reflects both defiance and pride. She doesn't just perform, she shifts how people see disability, strength, and spectacle. Number 11. Patrick Cotter O'Brien. Patrick Cotter, born in Kinsale in 1760, later adopted the stage name O'Brien, claiming descent from Brian Boru, the legendary Irish giant. He became known as the Bristol Giant, the Irish Giant, and for a time, the tallest recorded man alive. Cotter stood an astonishing 8 feet 4 inches tall and earned enough through exhibitions to retire by 1804, living comfortably in Hot Wells, Bristol, until his death in 1806. His size made even burial difficult. No hearse could carry his coffin, so 14 men took turns hauling his massive lead-lined casket. In his will, Cotter left 2,000 pounds to his mother and ordered his remains buried 12 feet deep in solid rock to deter grave robbers and scientists. His wish held until 1906, when workmen laying drains unearthed the coffin. After being measured and photographed, he was reburied. Later, in 1972, his remains were re-examined, confirming his exact height, 8 feet. Cotter lived immensely, and even in death, left awe. Number 10. Count Primo Magri. Count Magri married Lavinia Warren, widow of General Tom Thumb, on Easter Monday, April 6, 1885, in New York City. At 2 feet 8 inches tall, he stood 2 inches shorter than her previous husband. The two ran a roadside attraction in Middleborough, Massachusetts, and toured worldwide with their own troupe, performing plays like The Rivals and Gulliver Among the Lilliputians for both the public and royalty, including Queen Victoria. His alleged twin brother Giuseppe, sometimes called Ernesto, also performed under names like Baron Magri and Baron Littlefinger. While Barnum was known to hand out military ranks for flair, some claimed that Primo's Count title was granted by Pope Pius IX. The couple had lavish tastes, which meant staying in the spotlight to keep up. In 1915, Magri acted in a silent film titled The Lilliputians' Courtship, playing Uncle Tiny Mite beside Lavinia. He died in 1920, still performing and dressed. Number 9. Maximo and Bartola. Maximo and Bartola made their debut in 1848, presented as rare Aztec children. Their promoters fabricated much of their story to sell tickets and prolong the act's longevity. Both were born with microcephaly in the town of Decorah, El Salvador. They were eventually sold to American showman Morris, who spun an elaborate tale about their discovery. He claimed they were found squatting on Aztec altars in a lost temple. To sell the lie, he had them wear embroidered Aztec-style costumes, grow their hair bushy, and appear mute in public. Audiences at the time were fascinated by anything exotic, and with the rise of interest in Mesoamerican civilizations, their story struck gold. Morris even published a 48-page brochure titled Life of the Living Aztec Children to accompany the tour. Maximo and Bartola were shown to medical experts, journalists, and paying crowds. They reportedly remained in exhibition until 1901. Their eventual fate is still unknown, but their bizarre narrative lives on. All right, now, let's head over to Number 8. Ella Harper. Ella Harper was born in Hendersonville, Tennessee, shortly after the brutal Civil War, with a rare condition that caused her knees to bend backward. She chose to walk on all fours instead of upright, and that alone turned her into a spectacle. America's twisted obsession with sideshow attractions didn't help. She became known as the Camel Girl, drawing thousands of stares. W.H. Harris, a showman eager to assemble the most diverse roster of performers, offered her a high-paying contract. Ella earned $200 per week in Harris's nickel-plate circus, about $5,000 by today's standards. It allowed her to find housing and build a real career. But the job was humiliating. The Camel Girl nickname stuck, and she was often paraded next to an actual camel for audience comparison. After 1 year, she'd had enough and quit. Her post-circus life remains mostly unknown, though it's believed she returned home to pursue education. Sadly, her father died in a fire in 1899, and her brother Willie passed just 5 years later. Number 7. Aloia Vagner. Aloia Vagner, better known as Violetta, was born in Germany without arms or legs. Despite her condition, she built a long career performing in sideshows. She moved to New York with her stepbrother and appeared in attractions like Coney Island's Dreamland and Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. She propelled herself by hopping on the base of her torso and used her mouth to manage daily tasks, combing hair, threading needles, and sewing clothing. Violetta married later in life, wearing her wedding band on a gold chain around her neck. In 1940, a review praised her as a beautiful torso whose graceful presence rivaled any beauty queen. She was billed truthfully as the beautiful armless and legless Venus. Despite exploitation, she maintained dignity and poise. Audiences marveled not only at her difference, but at her elegance and composure. Finally, Violetta died in 1940, remembered as both a striking performer and a beautiful woman who carried herself with resilience on every stage. Number 6. Johnny Eck. Eck wasn't born cut off at the waist, but had small, non-functional legs, which he strapped tightly to his torso with a custom harness. He had a twin brother, Robert, who was fully formed and often performed with him. Together, they staged the famous sawing in half illusion for Raja Raboid's magic show in 1937. Raboid would pretend to cut Robert in half, and Johnny would crawl out of the box, appearing legless. It shocked crowds, and some spectators fainted or ran. Johnny began performing solo in 1923, with Robert helping manage and assist him. He worked for Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, Ripley's Believe It or Not, and appeared in the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. He also had roles in several Tarzan films. Eventually, the brothers moved back to Baltimore and ran a penny arcade and miniature train ride. In his later years, Johnny painted screens and put on small shows for neighborhood kids. He remained a performer until the end. Number 5. Alfredo Codona. Alfredo didn't just fly. He risked everything every time he left the platform. He came from a circus family. Father, mother, siblings, all performers. The Codonas were known across southern Mexico. Alfredo made them legendary. He became the first aerialist to land the triple somersault. His timing was exact. His form is untouched. Even pros like Art Concello gave him credit. He married Clara Curtin in 1917, divorced her 10 years later, then married aerialist Lillian Leitzel. Their marriage was intense, love and chaos bundled together. In 1931, during a tour in Europe, Lillian fell mid-performance in Copenhagen. Alfredo was in Berlin when he got the call. She died 2 days later. He was never the same. He married Vera Bruce, but the grief didn't leave. Then came a fall, an injury that grounded him for good. In 1937, during a spiral he never escaped, Alfredo shot Vera and then himself. He flew higher than most ever dared, but when he fell, it was final. Number 4. The Fiji Mermaid. During the 1800s, Barnum, with James Bailey, created one of sideshow history's boldest deceptions, the Fiji Mermaid. While others invented tools and trades, Barnum built spectacles. The mermaid was a grotesque combination, the lower half of a large fish attached to the torso of a monkey. Papier-mâché, fake fur, careful stitching, and dramatic lighting transformed it into a believable sea creature. It wasn't just the illusion, it was the marketing. Barnum displayed it cheaply, using it not for direct profit but to triple ticket sales overall. Audiences swarmed, paying to see what they believed was a mythical discovery. Though entirely fake, the Fiji Mermaid became legendary, a testament to Barnum's audacity and showmanship. He proved that belief could be bought, molded, and sold for profit. The Fiji Mermaid endures as one of history's greatest hoaxes, reminding us that spectacle often thrives on deception. Barnum didn't discover wonders. He manufactured them, and the public eagerly paid to be fooled. How ironic is it? Number 3. The Siamese twins. Chang and Eng were born in 1811 in what is now Thailand, joined by a 4-inch band of flesh at the chest. As teenagers, they left Siam and entered show business to showcase their unique condition. Western audiences couldn't look away. For over a decade, they toured Europe and the Americas, performing for royalty, medical experts, and the general public. By the 1830s, they were so widely known that the term Siamese twins became the default label for all conjoined twins thereafter. Their fame fueled literature, theater, and medical studies for generations. As Asian immigrants in the pre-Civil War American South, their identities blurred, part celebrity, part curiosity, part commodity. They eventually settled in North Carolina, became U.S. citizens, owned slaves, and started families. Their legacy stretches across history books and cultural studies, from race and disability to exploitation and survival. They weren't just sideshow freaks. They became symbols, often misunderstood, but forever etched into global conversation. Number 2. The Jones Twins. The Jones twins, conjoined infants exhibited across America in the late 1800s, represent one of sideshow history's cruelest chapters. Born physically joined, they weren't shielded from exploitation, they were displayed. Barely toddlers, they were transformed into an attraction, paraded before strangers who stared as if at puzzles, not children. Their short lives ended at just 15 months, nearly half spent under public scrutiny. They weren't performers or curiosities, simply babies denied a chance at ordinary life. Their cause of death was never recorded, whether illness, neglect, or exhaustion. But the truth hardly mattered to the showmen who profited from them. No protests rose, no outrage rang out, only silence. Their story doesn't carry the fame of Barnum's stars, but it carries something more haunting. Behind the curtains of every exhibition, real lives bore the cost. The Jones twins never grew up, never had a choice. Their brief existence remains a reminder of childhood lost to greed and spectacle. Number 1. Angelo Rosito. Angelo Rosito stood just under 3 feet, but his resume never cared. He started acting in 1927 and didn't stop for 6 decades. No circus gimmicks, no traveling tents, just straight film work. He played monsters, mutants, sidekicks, soldiers, dwarves, aliens, and pig-faced creeps. He was Little Mo, Angelino, or just plain Angelo. His first movie? The Beloved Rogue with John Barrymore. He later showed up in cult hits like Dracula vs. Frankenstein, Spooks Run Wild, The Corpse Vanishes, and Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome, where he played Master. Kids who grew up on weird 60s TV would have spotted him in Lidsville, Puffin' Stuff, and more. Off-screen, he ran a small newsstand in L.A. Didn't act like a star. Didn't fake humility either. He worked, he cashed the check, and he showed up again. He didn't need to join a sideshow. Hollywood was his freak tent. By the time he stopped acting, his face had outlived every label. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.